Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of my Wurm Unlimited tutorial series. This episode is going to be on tracking. And let's just say that tracking is a vastly underrated, underused skill because it does have some fantastic, unique uses. Which I will get into. This won't be a very long episode, simply because it's a small skill that definitely needs a bit of credit. And also, very fittingly, it's going to be useful for those of you that want to try and make it to our deed. So there you are. There we have it. Right, now before though I start on that and get into all of that, Wurm is a medieval game, okay? That's the type of game that Wurm age is around. It's medieval. So I'd like to start, before we go into tracking, with a roll of honour. Okay, so the roll of honour for today, I'd like to mention, is 3 people: Bryant, Robert and Tosh. 3 squires that will be knighted on completion of their quest. For they've each given a unique reference to this challenge, and they've had me laughing with some of their comments, but it's so amazingly brilliant the way each has engaged with this task at hand, and it's absolutely brilliant. Thank you to the 3 of you for embracing this with the good grace which it was intended. I mean, thank you to everyone, every single person who's given me a second of their time, and I know most of you are going to give it a shot. I understand there are some of you which don't simply have the time to do this, but it's okay, it's not a problem, it's just for a bit of fun. See how many of you I can get engaged. And I'm going to clarify that it's not as bad as you all imagine anyway. But let's move on. Okay, a couple of things that Rainstorm has mentioned to me, which I need to mention to you in regards to this challenge that I've given to you all. Firstly, that when you arrive at the deed, make a comment, like I said, telling us your character's name in the game, and also obviously in your comment will be who you are, so we'll know who you are, but give us your character's name. So then Rainstorm, what she will do is she will give you access to enter through the gates. So when you get to our deed, log off, excuse me, sorry, send us your character's name. Rainstorm will then add you to our deed, and you can then safely enter the deed. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing to mention is when it gets to that Saturday that I mentioned in December, the first Saturday in December, no, I won't say that. When it gets to the date in September, which I mentioned in the last episode, for those of you that have got horribly lost, or you've died too many times and you've had enough of trying, worry not. All you need to do is send Rainstorm a tell from within game on your new character that you've created, and she will teleport you to the deed. Well, no, actually, let's rephrase that. She will make you a citizen, so you'll have a one-time use of a teleportation to our deed. There we go. Okay, so don't worry. I mean, I'd encourage everyone to at least try. You got, try. Take you a little bit of time to try, and if you don't succeed but you want to be there on that final day to join in the fun in the video, then you can. Okay, now the last thing to mention about this challenge, our deed is 20 minutes from a spawn stone as the crow flies. Okay, it could quite easily take as little as 30 as little as 30 minutes for you to reach our deed. But remember, this is Wurm. So I won't say no more on that subject, but what I'm trying to get across there is we're not hours, we're not days from where you respawn or spawn in. Okay? Once you've gathered enough clues, you'll know where to spawn in. And I'm telling you then that 30 minutes to maybe 60 minutes for the more slower of you, you'll be at our deed. So we're not talking a huge major amount of time to get to us. Okay, but we are buried somewhere. Okay, let's see, what else did I want to mention? Now there was something I was supposed to tell you all in this episode, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was. For some strange reason, the name Xanadu is appearing in my mind. Okay, alright, I'm messing with you. Xanadu is the name of the server that me and Rainstorm have a deed on. So there we go. The game is afoot. Let's see who will be the first to reach the deed. Now, I know that it's still very early days. Me just telling you the server name is not going to do a great deal, but there we are. I can't wait. I'm wasting too much time here. Sorry, I'm waffling on. But yeah, let's just see. It'd be funny seeing each person in what order you all make it, for those that do. Okay, now let's do some tracking, shall we? Because this skill can actually help your survival chances. I'm going to say my piece on tracking. I'm going to show you tracking, and then I will finish off by switching over to the wonderful Wurmpedia and reading what it says about tracking from there, because it does have some rather interesting information as well. Okay, so to do tracking, there is many uses for tracking, and I shall give you a few examples to start with before we begin. The first use is for, let's say you're playing Wurm Online, and you've set up an area where you live. You've not deeded because you don't have the extra money to pay for that. So you just want to. You've set up a house. You built yourself a guard tower. You're happily dwelling somewhere in the wilderness, like me and Rainstorm, but you don't want to go to the expense of having a deed. And you gather all these wonderful materials, but you make one simple, silly mistake. You do not lock them securely in your area. So you haven't put gates up and put locks on them. You left them outside, and someone's come along and stolen them. Well, how wonderful, how nice would it be if you could actually find out who that thief was? How would you do that? You will use tracking. Tracking, the better your skill gets at tracking, the longer you can look back to see who has been in that area. Now, as your skill increases, it does not increase the range of your tracking. All it does is when you start tracking, as you're going to see in a moment, it tells you in hours. But as your skill increases, it will start to tell you in days. So how wonderful is that? Someone come and robbed you 3 days ago. You're going to know what their name is. So you can go into the server channels and have a look to see if they're there trying to sell off your goods at some extortionate price. I'm not saying be horrible to the person, you know, because it's just a game, it's just having fun. But at least you can know who it was. And maybe you can repurchase your goods back. Wouldn't that be ironic? Right, okay, so there's one use for tracking. You want to know what my favourite use for tracking is? Now, with Wurm Unlimited, with Wurm Online, we can all build up a fantastic menagerie of creatures. Some normal and many strange. There is all different types of special creatures in this game. But if you want to start if you go down the line of animal husbandry and you want to get into animals, that area of this game, you will need a few additional skills to animal husbandry, you'll realise this as you go along. Okay, it's not for everyone, but for those of you that that envisage in the future this glorious zoo, yeah, that's a good word to use, this glorious zoo of all exotic creatures, you may use tracking to help you achieve that. Because in your tracking, it will tell you about what type of creature has roamed by. It will give you the name. So you can start to track it. Just like the ancient American Indians would do with their track. Well, various cultures have in the past. For the hunter-gatherers, you can do some tracking and you can track that creature down. Let's just hope that your taming skill's high enough and your combat to take a few hits before you're able to tame it. But there you go, there's another marvellous use for tracking. I do by no means ever probably list an exhaustive list for any of these skills that I tell you about. I'm only sharing my personal opinion and experience with you all. I am not a know-all by any means. I'm just sharing with you the little bit of knowledge that I have on Wurm. Okay, and I love it. Okay, so how's this going to help you with your challenge? Well, wouldn't it be nice when you're faced with the wilderness before you? Okay, a thickness of trees so you can't see 10 tiles ahead. Wouldn't it be nice if you can track the ground to see if any nasties have been roaming around that area within the last few hours? Because as you see, let's show you, if we now do a little bit of this, let's now track and then I can show you what I'm talking about. So here you are, you're right at you've gone to the edge of civilization, the last road, and you're about to step off of it, but you want to know if it's safe to proceed in that direction. So you will go to track. Okay, and here we go. See down here. You find tracks and it'll tell you the creature and it'll tell you which direction it's leading in, and it will then most importantly tell you how long ago. Now remember what I said about the higher your skill gets. So this says 3 hours ago. Basically that's when I was trying to breed this creature. So I led it to the balls at my cart and then took it back to the pen. That's told you now exactly what I done and when I did it. There you go. So if it was a scorpion, it's going to tell you there's a scorpion and it was there an hour ago, let's say, or 2 hours ago, or 30 minutes ago. You're going to look up and think, I'm not going into that cluster of olive trees because there's a spider. Let's say it said a spider. There's a spider lurking in there. So let's go up here 20 tiles and track again. And then it might tell you that there is a... Let's see if I can show you again through an example what I'm talking about. So if we come over here where I haven't led any animals, let's now track. Okay, here we go. You find no tracks. Oh, marvellous. There we go. That's what you're looking for. Now if you do this, you're going to make it to our deed. Well, until of course you start to meet some of my friends, but let's not go there because otherwise I'm going to stray. But yeah, so there you are. You can make a safe journey if you know how. This challenge is not as difficult as you probably imagine. It will take you not as much time as you imagine, and at the end of the day, spend 5 minutes, have a try, then just camp out on the last day, the Saturday of the great meet. Then log in and we'll show you a way that you can teleport to us. But it would be nicer if some of you experience a little bit of Wurm Online and the joy that it can give you, and the thrills and the danger. So there we are. That is tracking, my friends. I hope you enjoy the skill. It's vastly underrated and it's vastly underused. There is no doubt hundreds more examples that I could give you for tracking, but I won't go there. Instead, I'm going to go to Wurmpedia, and what I will do, like I say, I will read you now what Wurmpedia says. Okay, so this is now reading from the wonderful Wurmpedia. Tracking shows who or what has traversed a tile or near it within the past 3 worm days. Tracking is useful for hunting, especially in the woods or around bushes where visibility is limited, and finding out who that pesky thief was. Radius you can track does not increase with skill, just number of sightings, timer, and age of tracks you can see. Tracking increases the mind logic characteristics. Then, reading on from under notes, only works for the tile you are standing on when the timer finishes, regardless of the tile targeted. Directions of tracks correspond to direction you are facing when timer finishes. So, the first one only on the tile that you stack. So basically what that's talking about, the first note, was it's the tile you right click and left click track on. So if you've got that tile targeted, but you right click this one and track, it's going to do this tile, not that one. Okay. The second one, tracks direction of directions of tracks correspond. So if I'm facing this direction, it's going to be talking about that direction when the timer finishes. Okay, but if I do this, so that's that way, but if I track facing this way, it's going to talk about that direction. I hope that now makes sense. Please feel free to read Wurmpedia, it is lovely. Okay, now I don't normally talk about titles, do I? I've got loads of titles in Wurm Online, and you know what, I'm just called a digger. But there are titles that you can get, and I know a lot of people do love titles. Why not? If you invest a lot of time and energy into something, you want to feel proud of your achievements, and titles is a good way of achieving that. So I'm going to give you the first 2 titles. I'm going to leave the third one a mystery to those of you that are interested to read it on Wurmpedia. The first title is Tracker. You get that at 50. The second title is Pathfinder, you get that at 70, and boy, there's another title which is just fantastic, but that's only for the most avid person into tracking. The most, I'm not sure avid is the correct word to use, but only the most keenest of trackers, because it's a very high skill to get. Right, so there we are, the server name that our deed is on, that me and Rainstorm have our last deed, where you will find us, where we want you to find our deed, is called Xanadu. I wish you all the best, and I wish you all a safe journey. But most of all, I wish and hope you just simply all have some fun, because that's what Wurm is truly about. Fun and enjoyment, and sharing it with all those around you. So, having said my piece, wherever you are in the world, God bless you and have a fantastic day. Goodbye.